So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to design a Christmas dinner flyer like this. And this is coming up. Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, kindly hit on the subscribe button. If you're old here, thank you so much for coming back again. So like I do it almost all the time, here are the resources that I'll be using in case you want to download and follow suit. A link to download it will be in the description box, so you kindly check it out. Now let's hop into Photoshop. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create a new document, and you can do this for A4, A5, A3. So in this video I'm going to use A3. Now I want to decrease my resolution a little bit so that it is not going to be that big. So I click OK and then we move on. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to import in my background. So this is what I'm going to use as the background. So I'll drag and drop it inside of Photoshop and then I leave it over here. So basically when you bring it in, it gives you the control, so you can just drag it from this side. But unless otherwise you're using the CC 2019, you have to hold Shift and then Alt, and then you drag from the very diagonal edges to somewhere around here. Now you take your time to position it over here. We want to have the reds in it like this, and then you can take over here or you press enter on your keyboard to mark it done. So basically it is going to be left like this. So you right click this one and you go to rasterize layer, you go to filter here and then you click on that, and then you go to blur and then you go to Gaussian blur. So you're going to add a sort of Gaussian blur. So I chose 40.1. It depends on the background or the picture that you want to use as the background. You can choose something less, but one thing is the more you increase it, the more it becomes blurry. So I'll choose to go for my 40.1 and then I'm going to click OK. Now next off, I'll go back to my resources and I'm going to import in this particular dinner table set already. So I'm going to open it up a little bit like this, and then I'm going to make sure that it is up to this side. I just want the cap and everything over there to appear. So I'll right click on this one as well, and then I'll rasterize it. I'm going to add a layer mask to it so that I can take my brush that is pressing on B, and then I'll take my brush, make sure that the foreground color is black, and then I'm going to brush this one, the very edges a little bit, so that it will be smooth and it can blend with the background. Simple, right? So next off, I'm going to import in this Christmas beautiful PNG over here, and then I will leave it at this side because it is 2. I don't want the 2, so I'm going to select my rectangular marker tool and make a selection from this side. I actually want the bottom one, so I make a selection from this side, press Ctrl and J, and then I'm going to send it over to my working document. That is this one. So I'm going to press Ctrl A and then make sure that this is centered horizontally. I'll press Ctrl T and then I'm going to hold Shift and then Alt, and then I'm going to drag this one till the very edges. I'll hold Shift again and then drag this down a little bit around here. Now I'll double click and make sure that the transformation is gone, and then I can group these three by holding Shift and selecting my first background, pressing Ctrl G, and then I can name this one background. So next off, I'm going to select my ellipse tool, you can call it the circle tool, and then I'm going to hold Shift and then draw a circle. So I want a perfect circle. That is the reason why I held Shift. So I'm going to press Ctrl A and then make sure that this is centered horizontally, and then I'll position it somewhere around here. So I'll double click on the thumbnail over here and then go to pick this particular color. This is the hex code. So I'll click OK and then make sure that I press Ctrl J to make a duplicate. I'll press Ctrl T to transform it down a little bit like this, and then I'll double click on that one. I'll come to the fill over here and then I'm going to set the fill to 0%. Right click on the duplicated ellipse or circle, go to the blending options, and then I'm going to set the stroke to about 5 to 8 depending on how the resolution you are using. So I can choose around 8, and then I'll change the color to white. So you can see it from here, and then I'll click OK. So I'll press Ctrl T again to make sure that it is transformed a little bit smaller like that. Okay, so next off, I'll select my rectangle tool, and then I'm going to draw another nice rectangle over here. But you have to make sure this time around that you are not holding the shift, because if you do so, it is going to blend with that of the ellipse or the circle that you first created. So I'll press Ctrl A to make sure that this is centered horizontally, and I'll press Ctrl D to deselect that one. Next off, let's add some text. So I'll go for my text tool over here, start writing the text, and I'm going to use the font called Railway. A link to download will be in the description. So this is going to read end of year, and then I'm going to change the color to white. Make sure that I have the bold over here, and then I'm going to bring it inside of the ellipse or the circle that we created. Since it is in the middle, whenever we press Ctrl A and center this one, it is also going to be in the middle. So you can take your time to position this one nicely over here. So I'm going to press Ctrl J to duplicate the text and drag it down a little bit over here, and then I'm going to edit that one to Dina. So the Dina is going to be a little bit bigger, so I'll press Ctrl T to transform it over here like that. It shouldn't be that much bigger, so I'll select the tool and drag it beneath smaller like this, and press Ctrl T to transform it to be a little bit bigger. I think we can use the bold or the semi-bold, but this looks good, so we can move ahead. Now let's go ahead and copy or duplicate the Dina by pressing Ctrl J again, and then we bring it down over here. We're going to edit that one to the Last Supper. So basically it's going to read end of year Dina dabbed the Last Supper. So the Last Supper will be here, and then I'm going to change that font to Helvetica Inserat. So like I said, a link to download that will be in the description. So I'm going to get rid of the first or the second R and bring my E, and then I'm going to press Ctrl T, transform it to make sure that it fits into the rectangle that we created. So it is going to be here. You press Ctrl A and you make sure that it is centered. So you can press Ctrl T and transform it a little bit bigger, and then we're going to add a couple of blending options to this one. So we right click on the Last Supper, go to the blending options, and the first thing that we're going to add is the gradient overlay. So I have the gradient already set, so I can have it over here. I'll give you the hex codes if you really want to use that. And then this is what we have. So you click OK, and then we go ahead to add a color overlay to it. So the color, we're going to choose this particular color called FFF1CB. Now we're going to click OK and go to the blending mode and change this one to linear bend. So we're going to decrease the opacity a little bit like that, and then we go to add an inner shadow to it. So the opacity of the inner shadow is going to be around 59%, and then the distance is going to be around 7-8, anyhow you really want to put it. And then you go to the shadow and we're going to add a couple of shadow to it. So the distance is going to be around 8, and then the size you can increase it up a little bit, and then the shadow you decrease it up like this. So this is going to be the blending options that you're going to add to the supper. So you can see that it differs slightly from the white layer or the white text that we have over here. So next off, I'm going to add the date and then the time and venue to it. So I'm going to choose the text tool, and I'm going to add another text, and this time around it's going to use the same color, but then I'm going to use the font called Poppins. So I'm going to type this symbol over here, and then I'm going to change this one to the color right over here. So I'm going to change this one to the semi-bold over here and press Ctrl T to transform it, make it a little bit smaller, and then I'll press Ctrl J to duplicate it, change this one or edit that one to 29th. So it's going to be December 29th, and then the 29 has to be a little bit bigger. So erase December 29th like that. Very beautiful over there. I'm going to hold Ctrl and then lift this one to this side. Make a duplicate of these two by pressing Ctrl J, and then I'll slide it to the right side of this one, and then I'm going to change this one to time. So the time is going to be 5 p.m. so I'll type 5 p.m. over here, sharp like that, and then I'll make a duplicate once again of the December like we have over here, and then I'll drag this one to the bottom, and then I'll press Ctrl A to make sure that it is centered right over there. So I'll select this one and select all the text, and I've already copied a text, so I'm going to press Ctrl V to paste that one, and that is going to be the venues. So I'm going to press Ctrl T to transform it a little bit to make sure that it is in alignment with the date and then the text. So from there I can select from the Christ the King, that is the December over here, Christ the King, that is going upwards, and hold Shift and select that one. Press Ctrl G to group it, and then I'll press Ctrl A to center it. So I just basically want everything here centered. I'll press Ctrl T and I can transform it neatly over here like that. So once that is done, I can go ahead and ungroup this one. Perhaps I can still leave this one and call them the dates and location. So once that is done, I'll go ahead and add another text to this one. So I'll select and press it over here and press Ctrl V to paste this text because I've already copied it. So I'll press Ctrl T and then I'll open it up like this, press Ctrl A, and then I'll center it over here. Now I'll right click on this one and go to the blending options, and then I'm going to add a stroke to it. Perhaps you're picking something reddish like this, and then I'm going to increase the size to about 4 or 5, anyhow you really want it. But then when you zoom in here, you can see this one really well. But I'm going to as well select it all and then change this one to medium, and I'll press Ctrl T once again and transform it out a little bit. So you just have to make sure that everything is in place. If you have logos as well, you can add them, but then if you don't have logo, I think that is going to be so fine for you. The last two things that we're going to add to these ones are going to be the rate. So this one, from this section to this part, I can select them and group that one to main. I can call that one main. That is because it covers the center or the main part of the flyer like that. So underneath of this particular layer, I want to add something. So I'm going to select my rounded rectangle and make a rounded rectangle over there, and it's going to pick the color, this one. So I'll click OK, and then I'll zoom in very nicely, and then I'm going to add rate to it. So I'll use popping still to rate, and then I'll drag it inside of this one. Press Ctrl T, and then I'm going to open it up like that. So I'm going to make a duplicate, drag it down, and then I'm going to add the Ghana cedis. I'm not having the cedi sign, so it's going to be 18. So the rate is going to be 18 cedis, and then you close it up nicely like that. So you take your time to position it, and that is pretty much it. So the last thing that we're going to add will be the effect. But first of all, let's add this particular bow tie effect. It is part of the final effect. So I'm going to drag this one and drop it on top of this one. So I want it somewhere around here. It looks good over there, and I'll press Ctrl A to make sure that it is centered, and I think that looks good over there. Do you think same? Now the final effect, one would be on top of the end of year dinner, and the other one would be on top of the Last Supper. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and select the dinner over here. So it has to be on top of the dinner. So I'll go to my resources, select my lens flare and drag it inside of the Photoshop, and then I'm going to paste it right on top of the dinner. So you can take your time to transform it over here, and then once you double click on it, the transformations is gone, you right click and you go to screen over here, and then you right click and you rasterize the layer. So you can just place this one right over here. But then if you want it to bright the more and get rid of these flares, like these lines, you go to filter and then blur and then Gaussian blur, and then you can blur it a little bit, but still it brightens over there. So you click OK when you are done, and like I said, the last effect will be on top of the last supper. So you select the last supper, you go into your resources, and then you're going to bring in this particular lens flare. Mind you, all of these are linked in the description so you can download them. So once it loads, you double click on this one, you right click and you rasterize, and then you go to the blending options, and then you set it to screen so that it can also brighten as well. But you press Ctrl T to transform this one. We don't want it to be on top of the whole of the last supper. We just want it beneath here, just beneath here. So you can decrease it from the vertical edges, and then you place it over here. You go to filter, blur, and then Gaussian blur, and then you add a little bit of Gaussian blur. But this time, this one, we don't want to increase it like that much, and then you click OK. So you can press Ctrl A to make sure that it is centered, and then it is right on top over here. Now all is said and done, that is pretty much it. You have your church name, you have the dinner, that is the main thing, you have your date, your time, and then the rate over there. And that's pretty much it. That is how to design a beautiful Christmas dinner flyer for your church, organization, or family. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out other videos that I've done on Christmas and other flyers that I've done. That would be basically it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Innocent here, and bye.